it behooves the congregation to pay attention to the need that the pastor has to spend with spouse and family and to develop a good relationship with that spouse. Just for example, I want to tell you the very first one that is circled there, share your struggles with your spouse at least once a month. The research showed that pastors who did at least that, at least once a month, which is a pretty low bar, were 5.5 times more likely to stay as a pastor.
And 3 of the must-do rules that I follow that I think are important: maintain confidentiality. You must hold conversations in private and keep confidences. Transition is difficult. There's nothing easy about it. And your first impression is a lasting impression. You need to have a good relationship with a clergy spouse and keep those confidences to yourself. Always follow through in what you promise to do or what you agree to. Always follow through. If you're not able to do what you're saying to a clergy spouse that you'll do, let them know. Let them know. But always follow through. And keep your eyes and ears open to protect the clergy spouse. Invite them to participate in things. Don't expect them to participate. But keep your eyes and ears open to make sure that others in the church are not trying to usurp the spouse's time. Within the first 3 months, I take the clergy spouse aside in a private conversation and invite him or her to lunch. I don't do it in a group setting. I don't shout it across the sanctuary. I let the pastor know that I'll be contacting his or her spouse to get together to see how SPRC can be supportive. I'm informing the pastor. I'm not asking permission. I may or may not ask another church member to join me. If so, I will check with the clergy spouse first before setting that up. And this is just a get to know you. Let's do this before the fall fury of programs begin. How have you settled in? Is there something else that SPRC can do for you? Is there something missing? Is the house okay? All those kinds of things that it might take a month or 2 or even 3 for them to know where they need extra help. We don't talk about the pastor, and we don't talk about the former pastor or the former pastor's spouse. And I make it known that anything that a clergy spouse says to me, I hold in deepest confidence. We're developing a friendship, not a backdoor means of communication, so I can talk to the spouse about what I want the pastor to do. But we're developing a friendship.
Don't just wait around for the pastor or the pastor's spouse to ask for help. Offer it, right? I think that's very true. A lot of people are not inclined to ask for help, but we may need it. And it's helpful if you offer it. And if we don't need it, we can graciously say, gee, thank you for that offer, but I think we have that covered. Thanks.
The hello teams were very evident for us. There was one lady who came and we scheduled a time and she drove me around the community. She showed me where the grocery stores were, where the polling place was. So in the fall, we knew where to go to vote, where the drugstores were. We drove around town to the public library.
I use a 6-month rule to safeguard or shelter the spouse from any expectations. I let him or her get to know the church members and the program, and to have time to discern where, if anywhere, they wish to lend their gifts. And I let people in the church know that, and I help them to understand that. The clergy spouse comes not even as a member of the church yet. Let that person have some time and decide what they want to do. And I encourage them to set their own boundaries. And some examples of that are, what day do you not want us to call you? When is family time for your family? And do you really want everyone to have your cell phone number, or do you not? Clergy spouse who are on social media can control friendship requests. So let them know it's not rude to wait. You don't have to accept every friend request that you get on social media. Take your time. Get to know people, get to know the area, and get to know the church. Set your boundaries, and we'll abide by them. We'll certainly try.
I'm an introvert. Here I am, right? I'm talking to you. I don't know most of you. I may never see you again. I'm happy doing it. Julie didn't have to twist my arm to get me on here today to do it. Yet I'm an introvert. If you give me the Myers-Briggs, I come out an I every time. And what it really goes to isn't so much whether how comfortable I am around people. It's really, for me, more of what do I need to do to be ready to be around people, and how do I feel after I've been around people? Yes. So for me, as an introvert, it's more prep before, thinking about what I'm going to say so that I don't feel on the spot. And afterwards, maybe more time to decompress, some time to process on my own. And so you learn about people when you learn, are they an introvert or an extrovert? My wife is absolutely positively extrovert. Where, you know, being around a lot of people, I love it. I get a lot out of it, but at the end of the day, I have to recover from that, right? For her, it's energizing. The more of that she gets, the more she wants to do it. So we're very different people that way. You've just gone through a worship service with a whole bunch of people that you've never met before, and you're trying to figure out who's who and what's what. And you're not like my wife, who just feeds on that. Then scheduling that meeting where you're going to sit down with the clergy spouse and ask them something right after church may not be the best time. I may already need, that time to kind of decompress. The role of a clergy spouse when my mom was a clergy spouse was a very defined thing. And there were expectations for her in every church that my father served. She was expected to be involved in children's ministry. She was expected to be involved in music. There were, some very traditional things about being a clergy spouse that were serious expectations for her. And I think people would focus on that to the exclusion of who is she? Who is she? And we need to kind of flip that, especially now that clergy spouses can look very different, right? For one thing, you see more people that look like me than my mom being involved. And it's important to focus not on the role so much, but on the person that you have in front of you, right? This is another child of God who's a part of this faith community, and who God is calling to do things or to not do certain things within the community. And it may even help you to see connections and help them to see connections where they would best fit in. And when believe me, when a clergy spouse is contributing to the faith community in a way that they're gifted for, right? In a way that is a passion of theirs, it's going to be so much better for them and for the church and for the pastor than if they're forced into some role. My mother, everyone expected she was going to be involved in music ministry. If you expect me to be involved in music ministry, you're not going to have a very good music ministry. Okay, so you can't focus on the role, you have to focus on the person.
The number one issue that drives clergy spouses to come and engage in any kind of coaching is about expectations and boundaries. How do I set expectations? How do I set boundaries? How do I maintain them with the congregation? And that it's something where clergy spouses feel very conflicted because they very much want to have a positive relationship with the congregation. A clergy spouse is also very sensitive to the fact that whatever their relationship is with the church will have some sort of impact on the pastor. There are clergy spouses, for example, who will not attend Bible studies because they're fearful that if they really express their thoughts about Scripture, that perhaps if it differs slightly from what the pastor would say, then that comes back on the pastor and affects their spouse's job. So this is a very sensitive topic. So that's why we ask you to, or invite you to ask a clergy spouse, when does church life interfere most with your family life? You can find out, well, it's really important to us, for example, it's really important to us to have dinner every night together as a family. That's really critical for us. So, okay, that's important for the congregation to know. Maybe there's a way to make sure that meetings happen at 7 o'clock instead of 6:30, you know?
This is a question that we are almost always never asked. This is a question that when you ask a clergy spouse, they might be very surprised because it's not something that we are often asked. So just to be asked, what can I pray about for you? It opens up an avenue to build relationships. I just caution that when you first ask it, as you are getting to know a clergy spouse, you might just get very basic things, praying about the move, praying about the children getting settled in school, very simple things, until trust is built. They have to know that they can trust you, that what they share with you is not suddenly going to be spread all around the church of, oh, guess what's going on in this family. But as the question is asked and trust is built, it can become a very special relationship of trust that the clergy spouse has someone within the church to go to when there is serious need for support and prayer. Inviting the family, the spouse, to join them, setting up a time where you meet to come in, to go into something for the first time and have someone guide you through it. Where do you start in the line? What do you need to know about this activity? Who can you sit with? When you're new to the church, everyone would like to sit with you. But it's nice for the clergy family to have a person who's guiding them and to sit with and to chat with that can share, who's sitting around them, aspects of the church life that just, and then not expecting us, to accept the answer of, what, we'd love to come to this breakfast, but we have a soccer game that morning. It's very important that we feel like we're being included, but not expected to do everything.
It goes back to what I consider the old-fashioned idea of the role of the clergy spouse, which is, attending everything, being part of everything. And that is no more. Clergy spouses work full-time, raise families, maybe have 2-3 jobs, you never know. So always inviting them to attend, but not expecting that they will attend everything in the church.
If you do have a little bit of an outreach that is directed specifically to the clergy spouse, where you show some interest in them, where you want to learn more about them, where without laying expectations on them, you want to hear about who they are and learn more about them. I've got to tell you, you're going to be so far ahead of the game because I've been through 4 of these transitions, and I've had what I would generally call good transitions, yet never in these 4 transitions did any of the SPRCs that my family and I were dealing with do that. Have a specific effort to reach out to me, and I would really welcome it. And I just like to say that if you are considering doing this, and if you're going to follow through with it, it's going to have an impact. It's going to be very meaningful for the pastor's spouse, because it doesn't happen every time.
As we close this workshop, guide us, guard us, protect us, shine your light on us as we give you thanks and praise. Amen.